We are live.
This oh fuck.
This is why we're not gonna make it on here. We're not gonna get monetized. We're not gonna become billionaires.
I was just gonna say this freaking camera to make my mouth look out twist up.
She can't stop cursing, guys.
It's a sickness, honestly. I can't help myself.
It's crazy. Just give us 2 seconds, my people.
I think it's so funny because I definitely feel like you're talking to yourself. There's no way out there.
First of all, there's 0 viewers, but we're gonna post this, right?
Yeah.
Should I start over?
No.
Okay. Don't be stressing me.
Oh wait, what am I? Oh, what am I on to the page? Right.
How do I see live?
Girl, you look good. What you bad, How come?
I got 2 viewers, girl.
How come you don't have it on here? Or you don't have it? You didn't add Instagram, so could I go live on Instagram too?
I didn't. Let me see if I can do it real quick. Here, Instagram live. What's the username?
Wow. Hold on. It is Besties Unplugged P.
That's how we look?
No. It looks like this. Farts bombs right here.
BESTIES. Besties. This is not what I have?
Yeah, well, how come it's saying showing up? I mean, if you go live on it, what's the worst that could happen?
On somebody else's live? What's the streaming?
And then we just get their followers. What do you mean? What's the stream like? Did you send it here?
Okay, we're gonna just not deal with this right now because we have a podcast to do, guys. All right, good night, good night. It is your girl B.
And Yama, you already know.
And tonight we're talking about parenting, then versus now. If you have kids, if you're on, we're gonna be talking about how our parents raised us versus how parents raise kids today. Okay.
I don't think I should on. Hold on. I'm trying to share the live on here. Alright guys, give me a second. We're having some technical difficulties.
But I don't see it.
I don't see it either. What's showing up on here?
Let's see what's going on.
Definitely not showing up.
It says you are live. And it says, let's see if you on YouTube.
Okay. Let's see better. Let's see.
We're on here. All right.
Let me. Where you down?
I'm on the YouTube. So consider it on the comments.
We're late AF today.
I'm so sorry, guys. We are a little bit late.
Late as future. Okay.
All right, let's start this again.
We're a bit discombobulated because
Yeah.
we don't normally do our lives on Tuesdays, but due to some scheduling conflicts, we had to do it today. We didn't want to keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. Um, Consistency is key, guys. Consistency is key. Okay. Okay, you ready?
Yes. Okay, so we're gonna talk about raising kids then and now. So if you're on and you want to, give a little insight, please drop it in the comments. Or if you want to come on live with us, I can screen you in. Just let me know. We can make that happen too. So today we're gonna talk about the differences. Parenting. The other night, Yamalis was over by moi. And we were talking about how, like, growing up, our parents raised us a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And we vowed, like, when you turn and you're like, oh, when I have my kids, I gonna never, or when I have my kids, I wouldn't do things a certain way because I didn't like how my parents did it.
And I nevered the way I nevered before, okay?
Yeah.
I did a lot of nevering, okay? I need y'all to know.
But one of the things we're talking about, and we said we're gonna mention because it's around Halloween time, right? So we talked about how there's a lot of families or households that don't celebrate Halloween. And when I say celebrate Halloween, I'm not talking about like lighting candles and bringing anybody from the dead back from the dead. I'm talking about just like letting your children wear costumes, because sometimes like they don't have like a lot of activities during school. Or like in a community, and then kids are kids, and sometimes, like, not sometimes, they don't know that most of them don't know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, Mom, I just want to wear a costume because Billy or Susie wearing a costume. They don't understand. Well, my parents don't want it because they think it's demonic. I was raised in a home where we were Christians, but it wasn't like you can't wear a costume, or you can't trick or treat. I wore a costume up until a couple of years ago.
You just still wear costumes. What are you talking about?
But no, for real, like I trick or treated. I wore my costumes, and I attended Catholic.
Look, my mom is on. Love that for you, sis.
She was talking about you so bad.
I sure was.
And I told her, don't do my girl like that. But anyways, so yeah, like I was telling her, like I remember being in school and it had kids that weren't allowed to wear costumes because the parents were like, oh, that's a demon holiday or a demon day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when people walk the opia and bring people from the dead and all of that stuff,
By the way, still waiting on that because I've never seen it.
For me, it was like, damn, like I used to feel sorry for them because, here it is that as kids, you want to, take part in stuff, but I also understand, people's traditions and religions, and I respect that. But at the same time, it's like, hey, let kids be kids, like let them eat candy. I mean, moderation. But let them wear costumes. Like, you don't have to be like, this is Halloween costume. Like, if you want to be a Princess Jasmine or you want to be a Batman, like, why not? But yeah, so tell us, if you're on here, you could just say like, yeah, my mom didn't allow me, or my parents didn't allow me to wear costumes, or my parents allowed me to wear costumes. Or if you want to share a story about like if you couldn't wear costumes and your peers wore costumes and you felt some kind of way, share that with us. But like I had this little girl, like Irma. I was in 7th grade. Yeah, I was in 7th grade, and it had little kids had like a parade and stuff. And I know like her parents were like real religious, and she wasn't even allowed to come to school during the time that they had any of those things going on, which I felt like that was the best thing her parents could do so that she don't feel that kind of way, And if it was me and I believed in like things like that, and like my kids would be around something and they're probably too small for me to explain to them why I don't want certain things, then I would just keep them home, so that they don't feel no kind of way, like to feel like they're excluded or left out. Because, kids, they're kids and they, want to take part in shit.
Stella said my mother used to work nights, so we used to be out there throwing eggs instead of dressing up, dressing up in costume. But he said, living in the States, this is normal, so my kids are going to partake.
Yeah, and I know some very religious people too that for them they're like, hey, it's just them wearing a costume. It's nothing to do with like demons and stuff like that. But like, how was it in your home?
Oh, girl, I never got to. If my mom is on here still, she never, ever, ever, like, that was not a thing. And I feel like, I don't know, like, I can't remember, honestly. I could remember, like, a lot of things from my childhood, right? But I can never remember anything, like, having to do with, like, Halloween and, like, dressing up and stuff like that. I know for a fact that Fafa never, ever, ever lost upon no goddamn costume. Okay, she was not in that business. A lot of the times we were like with my grandmother when my mother would be like working and stuff like that, and my grandmother, okay, everything is demonic to this lovely lady. Okay, everything. So she was not in that business. And then also my mom was a single parent, and um I could remember her always having to take us to like work. Well, she owned her own business, but even when she did it before, she had to like take us to work and stuff like that. So we didn't have the opportunity to like partake in those type of events growing up. So yeah, and if my sister is on here, she could tell you because she remembers like a lot of things that I don't remember. So yeah, but definitely never got to wear any costumes. But my kids now do though. I let them, partake because and especially being here like on this island, like there isn't much for the kids to do. And so when those holidays roll around and they want to dress up and they want to go out and like trick or treat and stuff like that, I let them do that, or we do that as a family, because, like I said, there isn't much for the kids to do here on island. So I don't. It wouldn't be right for me to take that away from them, And I don't. I honestly just believe it's just like wholesome fun. I don't think there's any hidden agenda behind freaking kids just dressing up and going out and trick or treating and stuff like that. So it's not an issue to me in my household. It's not a problem.
So since the topic is parenting then versus now, for Yamalis, like she said, I mean, growing up, she wasn't allowed to wear costumes or trick or treat and stuff because her mother wanted that she would have, or with them. And do you think it was something religious, or it was just that? Or she like, do you think that it had anything to do with maybe her upbringing, or was it like a religious thing that she didn't allow you guys to wear costumes?
My mom?
Yeah.
I just think she just didn't have the time.
Oh, okay, so my mom got time.
Yeah, like growing up, like my mom didn't have the time to like. I could only think of a few instances where I actually got to play like baseball, well, sports in general, or got to do like anything that my mom couldn't like physically be there to be with us. And it was because she was a single parent and she had to work. And, it comes down to choosing like a roof over my kid's head or, being outside. And I don't fault my mom for any of that. I feel like my mom did the best she could with what she had, and I have a lot of great memories, childhood memories, like a lot. Like I could sit here and tell you stories like all day, and my family members too, like my cousins and stuff like that, So um yeah, I think it was just the fact that she didn't have anybody to like take us and say, hey, I'm gonna be working late, can you take the kids? Like now, you're married, I'm married, and I'm pretty sure if you can't take the kids, but will the you make the time to make sure that the kids have their own time to go out and have fun and stuff, but that you're a part of it as well. A lot of parents then didn't have the luxury that we have now with the reliable partners that we have now. You see what I'm saying? So I could understand, now as an adult, I can't understand because I used to be a single parent. So it's kind of like you don't understand until you was in your parents' shoes.
So
kind
like
of vibe.
back to the then versus now. So we're gonna touch on a couple of things that you said. One, it was nothing to do with like religion, it was just time. So your mother didn't have the time to do the kid stuff, like the trick-or-treating and the stuff. So it wasn't like you couldn't do it because it was anything with religion, but it was time. But then now you said, like, now you as a parent, you saw, like, I mean, how it was impactful in a sense that you felt like you were missing out. So now you make sure that your kids can enjoy those little things. And then two, you mentioned her like being a single parent and sacrificing the time she could spend with you guys to make sure you have a roof over your head, because I mean, like you said, it was one or the other. I was like, I have to work to make sure that I give my kids a roof over their head versus being outside, like you said. So now parenting, like, what do you do different so that you don't put on that same or transfer those same feelings towards like your kids, where you felt like you, I won't say missed out, but there's a lot that you could have been doing with your mother had she had the time. Do you make time for your kids now? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, when it was a little harder for me, when I was single parenting. So that's why I could say that I understand why my mother had to make the decisions that she made back then, because I walked in her footsteps, sort of, for lack of better terms, when I was in that stage of my life. And It's all about sacrifices, and I missed a lot. I missed a lot with my son because I had to work, but it was a decision that I had to make, and it was with my eyes open and taking everything into consideration. And I'm just like, you know, do I want for my son to have the life that he deserves, not have to struggle, not have to see me struggle, and it's temporary. I can't do this right now, but it's temporary. It's not something that's like, yeah, it won't always be like this. And because before, she used to talk about me. She used to talk to me all the time about this. Every time she would be like, yeah, I go in, I've had like many jobs in my lifetime, but I was working security, and my village wasn't here, and
I am moving a lot because I'm super uncomfortable. I don't know why. Like, I don't have like ants in my pants. I can't get comfortable today.
Okay, so I was working security, which was one of the most like draining jobs I've ever worked, and not being able to spend the time with my son, that used to like eat at me every night, right? Because I was tired. And Bianca used to always tell me like, Yama, if you don't make, that sacrifice, like you sacrificing that sleep or that rest that you could get once or twice a week, it's not going to kill you. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not perfect. I've made my mistakes,
She's to have that man in jail.
Parenting, but parenting, don't sorry this bitch. But parenting is a learning process. Like, as you might think that today, okay, I get non pack. Like, I know my child now, I know what he gonna do, I know what he ain't gonna do, or she. And then time progresses, like as time like goes by, your child turns into a whole different person. Now you have to learn this personality and you know adjust to that. So parenting is all about like learning and growing with your kids. But being that I was a single parent, I do regret that I missed out. I feel like I missed out on a lot. Like first words, first steps, first, because I was always working. And it took me a while to realize that, like, while my mother did like the best that she could, I kind of didn't want to follow in those same footsteps and like make the same mistakes that she made. So yeah.
Yeah, so but yeah, so like you said, okay, parenting back then versus now. You talk about like, okay, the things that you
Somebody
parents
said
did.
my son went through puberty and became a lazy little fuck. Yes. These kids ain't shit at all.
Yeah.
These kids ain't shit. Okay? Just so y'all know. And I'm okay with saying that because I know these kids ain't shit. But yes.
Yeah, but don't be distracted right now.
Sorry. Okay,
I
right.
had a great thought.
Did you? Okay. If it was that great, it's gonna come back.
I was actually listening to what you said so that I could follow up. But so okay, so you talk about like parenting then, like how your mom parent versus now how you parent. But the similarities was basically saying that you kind of did the same things in the beginning because you felt, and I've heard you say like, oh well, my mother, blah, 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 and I survived, and a lot of times people have that mentality, not saying that that's something you should do, but I feel like a lot of times we use it as an excuse, and it's like, yeah, well, I know that I should be doing better, but my parents did it and I survived, so my kids gonna survive too. But I mean, here we are today in the now, and understanding that, yeah, well, we may have survived, it was nothing that we enjoyed, or we grew up and we were like, you know what, I gonna make sure that when I have my kids I do X, Y, and Z different. And I remember like when you said like, okay, you used to work a lot of stuff, but I like in terms of like childhood trauma, and I won't use it as trauma, but maybe like childhood, like what you were missing, where you said like that time where your mother, or like doing family things, and where your mom, like, she was doing her best because for her was giving my kids everything, but not understanding that the most precious thing she could have given was time.
But you know why I don't fault her and why I don't blame her? Because she was raised by somebody else. You know what I'm saying? So it was just like generations of.
Yes, it's like you don't know better. You can't do better if you don't know better. So
that's why, and that's why I don't hold like no malice towards my mother. Like I love my mother, and while we might have never had the best relationship like growing up, I didn't understand a lot of things until I became an adult myself and I started to parent. Like my mother used to always tell me, growing up, you gonna understand when you have kids of your own. And I know, like, for those who have like teenagers, I know that we've said that to like our teenagers before, like our preteens or whatever, because it's the truth. You're not gonna know until you have kids of your own. You understand? And you experience that for yourself. And so yeah, like I don't fault my mother for the mistakes that she's made, or for the way that she like raised us, or whatever the case might be, because I grew up with a roof over my head. I grew up with clothes on my back. And I mean, like every Christmas, every holiday that you could have get your kids Christmas gifts in general, or Christmas gifts. I had everything that I wanted, and it wouldn't have been possible without my mother, because my father was never around. So I don't, like I said, I don't fault my mother, and I never will, for the way that she raised me, because I see it as that's how she was raised. And so at the time, she wasn't seeing it as X, Y, and Z. You know what I'm saying?
And that has an influence. How you were raised have an influence on how you raise your kids. And you try to do better, because when you lack something and you try to give it, that's when like people are saying I gonna give my kids the life that I didn't have. That's because while they might say like, yeah, I survived, I was fine or whatever, they were lacking something and they hold it dear to them, and that's why you have like that childhood trauma. So it's like I don't want my kids to not be able to do the stuff that I couldn't do growing up and stuff like that. But back on the topic, because we got sidetracked, we talked about like the new generation of parents and that don't, I won't even say like so much into like religion, because we talk about like the Halloween stuff, but are more like open to just letting their kids be free. And I've heard like people say, oh, like I'm gonna let my kids just be themselves. To what extent?
No, yeah, because wow, hold on there. Hold the F
and then we're gonna talk. We talk about like raising children in the Caribbean versus on the mainland. Because I mean, when I just said in America, we are America. So versus like the Caribbean, and we're gonna talk about like the Virgin Islands, Caribbean or Caribbean down island, and then of course the mainland America. But touching on that topic. Parenting then. I remember like my mother used to always tell me like her favorite thing was like her own bust your mouth. Like I know that my mouth was always my problem. Nothing else. Because I never skipped school, I never did drugs, like I never sneak out the house, like I never do none of those things.
Okay, I did all of that, but drugs. Okay,
I did
all of that, but drugs. Okay,
Dahlia put a fear of God in me, despite the fact that she said I was rude to her. But like when I said rude, like I mean I used to answer back here and there, but I mean it wasn't like nothing ever like how you don't hear kids today, And I remember one time like my mother was like, I used to have braces, and she gonna be like, I gonna slap them braces out your mouth, and like Dahlia have me that. And she used to like tell me like, she gonna send me back to Jesus and that kind of stuff. But I never like felt that I needed to call the police and stuff, even though like I wish I did several times. But kids today, like when you discipline them, they feel like you have, as a parent, you're their parent, but you can't discipline them because they're gonna call the police. Like, what do you think about that?
Okay,
like,
that don't exist here. But in the mainland,
no, it actually does. Like I've witnessed here, like how kids have changed. Even though like we're in the Caribbean, and we're like we're gonna beat your ass kind of thing. But even here, like now, parents are soft parenting.
Yeah.
And back then, ain't had no damn thing as soft parenting. You getting beat with a pot spoon. You getting beat with electric cord. You're getting beat with a chair. If that's the closest thing to me. I mean, shit. If I iron it, you probably gonna get an iron too. But now there's this whole thing called soft parenting. How do you feel about soft parenting? Well, let me tell you how I feel first before we go into Yama. Now, I believe in listening to my kids. In terms of if I feel like they did something that they shouldn't do. And like my son have this thing like, Mom, let me explain to you. And I'll be like, boy, I don't even want to hear you. Because
Latifa said these children will try you every single day. No facts.
For real, like, so I would try to be like, okay, let me hear you out. Because sometimes we are adults, but that's not, I mean, just because we're adults don't mean that we can't make mistakes, or, we can't interpret things differently, like take it to another level. So I'll hear him out, and I'll be like, okay, tell me whatever. I mean, I'm gonna still beat his ass at the end of the day because I feel like but I'm gonna hear him out. And after I hear him out, 9.5 times out of 10, he fucked up. But that 0.5, I would apologize. I mean, I don't consider that to say soft parenting. Some people consider apologizing soft parenting. I mean, we're humans, children, adults, whatever. Sometimes, they may not know better. Sometimes they do. But I gonna listen. But I'm also gonna not soft parent. You gonna get disciplined. Like whatever it is, depending on the severity of your misconduct, is what kind of consequence you're gonna get. Now with soft parenting, it's like sit and talk to your kids. Let's find ways to work through the problem. Yes, we're not gonna yell. we're gonna be like, Bobby, it is okay. You hit mommy because you were upset. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
You hit mommy because you were upset and your hand is still attached to your body. That is a problem.
My patience is right here.
So tell me, what is your take? If you're watching, just say I soft parent or I don't soft parent. What do you think about soft parenting?
Girl.
Yeah, we know she don't soft.
No, I'm gonna be real with you, right? I soft parent. No, I don't. That's a lie. So I don't believe in soft parenting. I'd be lying to you if I use some of my mother's parenting techniques and my kids with my own twist. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not hitting you with everything in the house. We are gonna be out here doing some exercises, right? We're gonna get fit. That's one thing. We're gonna be a fit family out here, okay? No, but there used to be a point in time where I used to always like beat Kaden. Like anytime, not like for no reason, but every time he used to do something he wasn't supposed to do, I used to beat him, right? And as time went by, I realized that that's not always going to work, right? Not only that, but I started thinking back on like when I was growing up and when my mom was raising me, and when she used to beat me. After a while, like it was just something that was like, let's get this over with. Hurry up and beat me so we can move on to like the next thing,
They get immune to it.
Yeah, you get immune to it. Yeah. So a lot of it was just me having like flashbacks. Now, I don't agree with soft parenting. I am always going to be a parent first, your mother first, before I am your friend. Your friend last. I'm your friend last. Okay? But I'm your parent first all the time. I am your mother first all of the time. Okay? So I don't believe in that soft parenting thing. Like I've seen videos of like these people in Walmart, right? And this one little boy, his mother said he couldn't have like a toy. And the mother said, no, you can't have it. Da, da, da. She wasn't raising her voice. This little boy turned around and slapped this woman off. I mean, like we're talking about this little boy couldn't have been more than like 10 years old, right? And I was very much confused because the reaction that the white woman gave was like, this was a regular thing in their household. And honestly, I want to grab that child for her and like beat that little effer, okay? Because I couldn't believe it. You imagine like you slaving, you going to work, you making sure your child have everything they need. You are a loving parent, a caring parent, and you have a rude ass fucking child, like a child that you can't control in public.
And that's the parent. I say it all starts at home, right? So if at home your child is rude to you, your child gonna be rude to you in the streets. And our kids will try you, and it's how you react to them if they're gonna try you again. I remember one time, Bella was 2 years old, and I picked her up from school and went to Kmart. And she was like, Mommy, I want a toy. And I've gotten her, let me make sure my mic down, because me and this mic. I was, like not always, but I would try to give her get a little toy or something after school. We went and I was like, Bella, I didn't rush. She's 2, but we gotta go. Home girl sat on the floor in the aisle. Okay. I was like, Bella, let's go. I'm not going. I was like, oh, okay. I walked to the next aisle thinking, she gonna follow me because she's 2. Home girl was just there in the aisle crying. I turn around, I grab a little ass, I grab her hand, and we went in the car. And I didn't tell her nothing. When we went to the car, she thought it was all cool. She stopped crying. I turned around and I beat her little backside in the car. And I tell her, stop crying, or I'm gonna beat you some more, what we do. And she was like, okay. We got back in the store. Never again. Okay, never again. That child ever acted out in the store. Now today, like when I say today, I don't mean today, but we have been in stores and my kids have witnessed other kids behaving like that. And they would always be like, that couldn't be my mother. No, that couldn't be my mother. And you're right, because not to say like people say, oh, your children shouldn't fear you. Your children should fear you. Your children should fear you in the sense that they're going to respect you, not fear you like they can't come and talk to you about what's going on. Because I always tell my kids, like, you know what, talk to me. Whether you're right or you're wrong, we're gonna figure it out. But fear you in the sense that if I do something I ain't supposed to do, my mother will kill me. And that's how I was raised. And I feel like that worked for me. So I try to stay with my kids. But today, when grandparents, because my mother do not remember how she raised me for sure. But today, grandparents now, like, they don't want to tell you, don't talk to your kids like that, don't raise your kids like this. But that's how they raise you. So how do you feel about that?
Bring it back.
Gotcha, bitch. I knew she wasn't paying attention.
She knew I don't do no fucking quizzes. I hate to be tested. Bring it back. I'm out here responding to the people on the thing. Okay, go ahead. Tell me.
So how, like, we talked about, like, parenting back then, parenting now, how your parents parent you versus how you parent now. But I was telling them the story about like how Bella had acted in the aisle and how like we went in the car, I beat her, we went back in the aisle, she never did it again. But now, like your parents, like grandparents now, they tell you to raise your kids different to how they raised you. But not to say like raise you different. They like, that you couldn't go on the aisle and throw yourself on the floor and your mother not beat you. But now when you do that, it's like, don't beat them, just talk to them. Just, how do you feel about
All right,
it?
you know what I think that is? That's them trying to, the way that they are with the grandkids is them trying to overcompensate for the way that they raised us. So they know, they're aware that they made mistakes, even if it's something that is in the back of their mind, but they know, because you know what I'm saying. And I feel like, and I don't say that all the time. I'm pretty sure like everybody who have kids and the grandparents are in their lives, we always have like back and forth because we give specific instructions when we drop our kids off. Let's say we say, hey, don't give my child candy after a certain time, or they're not supposed to be drinking juice, or they're supposed to go to sleep at this hour, or whatever the case might be, and they don't just do what they want, right? I feel like that's really them, like they feel like that's like the guilt.
So like they're making up, basically they're making up for their lack of parenting.
Overcompensating. Yeah. And that's how I always felt about her. Like I don't know, like I gave up like talking about her with my mother because she don't remember nothing. Okay. And that's fine. I don't have an issue with her. Like I don't.
That's not what she said before this start.
No, that's a lie. That's a lie. And my mother and here, Okay. No, but seriously though, I really feel like that's the grandparents just, it's simple, just them like overcompensating. They're trying to right their wrongs, but through their grandkids. You know what I'm saying? And that's okay. You made a mistake, whatever the case might be, whatever the situation was, and you're coming now and you're trying to redo it. But you could do that in a respectful way. You know what I'm saying? Don't shit on the way at a parent.
Yeah.
You understand? You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm not out here abusing my kids. My kids have everything they need. They know that I love them. I show that I love them. And it's something that's hard for me too because I'm not an emotional person. Okay? but that's because I didn't grow up in a household with I didn't grow up in a household with what's that word I'm looking for? My mom wasn't an emotional person either. But I understand that because that's how she was raised. You know, she got all her love from her dad, which was my grandfather. And when he passed away, you know, my grandmother, she's being the person that she is, or whatever the case might be, her personality wasn't, let me give you a hug, you know, sit down, tell me what's wrong, cry on my shoulder, talk to me if anything. That's not how my mom grew up. And so that's not how I grew up. And like I said, just a disclaimer, I don't, I'm not like, no, because
She see her mother pop
no,
up, right?
my mother is not in here, but I just want to say, like, my mother don't beef real fast. Like, she's quick about it, okay? And I just know, I seriously want to say that, like, I definitely understand because that is how she was raised. And in turn, she kind of sort of like passed that down to me. At a certain point, I started to notice or realize that that's how I was. And Bianca could tell you, my husband could tell you that emotions was not a thing for me. Like, no, it was not a thing for me. But I'm trying to do different and do right by my kids because I want for them to know that they're loved, because in the end I don't want for my kids to look for love in the wrong places, you know. And that's what it ended up being with me, and why it was so hard for me growing up, because I didn't have that nurturing motherly love at home. I ended up looking for it elsewhere. So it's all about accountability. Like, if you know that you're fucking up and you're able to like pull yourself up about that and correct the issue, you'll be fine.
So
You'll be
like,
fine.
so back in the day, right? We say back in the day because we're talking about parenting then, and doing some research prior to this, and I'm gonna say back in the day, right? So I'm talking about like years ago, not like 1800s, but few years ago. Children were children, right? It's like a child needs to stay in a child's place. That's a phrase that a lot of the people, I don't know like how it is in the mainland, but in the Caribbean they use that a lot, right? A child needs to stay in a child's place. But today, I feel that as parents, we need to be more open to understanding why our kids do the things that they do, because it don't really come from nowhere, you know. And certain things in their environment may influence their behavior. So while I agree that discipline is necessary, I think that growing a bond with your child by listening and by allowing them to express themselves respectfully is important, because I think that parenting back in the day lacked that. It was like, you are child, I was the adult, you do as I say, not as I do. My mother had loved that phrase too. Okay. And I hated it. And I was like, I have found myself saying that the other day when my son was like, "But mom, you did." And I was like, "I am the adult, you're the child. Do as I say, not as I do." And I was like, I sound like my mother, and I really hated when she said that. So I had apologized, and I was like, I'm sorry. I was like, it was not right, but don't compare yourself to me. You know, I did what I did because I could do it, and I explained it to him. I sat down with him and I was like, this is what it was. This is, I mean, not to say he understood, because for him was like, he wanted to do it. And it was like, absolutely not. But I think that what parenting then lacked was accountability. Like Yamasa, is like, they're not going to say when they were wrong. It was like, they're going to take that to the grave. Like, they may beat you for something that they shouldn't have beat you for, but they're not going to say, I'm sorry. And then now you're holding that in your heart. Like, wow, my mother been beating me, or my father been beating me, and I didn't even deserve that. And then, now we're on the topic of beating. Like, when we talk about, like, it takes a village now, like, now we're going back. Today, there's no village. And that's because of I when I say soft parenting.
Oh, hold on. This is a really good point. Um, my husband said, what we all need to understand is that our parents were learning to be parents when they were parenting us, meaning like they were young. Remember at that time, like motherfuckers were out here having babies at 14, 15,
I don't agree with that
16.
because
So it was kind of like a child raising a
I
child.
I don't agree with that. I feel that it's more so the times because they mimic what their parents did. And as we evolve as parents, we learn different things and our environment too. Because like you and I, when I meet you, Kieran was in jail 24/7. But in you, like you said, I mean, for you was like, well, your mother did.
Okay, hold on.
X,
She
Y, and
doesn't
Z.
mean real jail. Okay.
I mean, like, yeah, man, now we take the kids. Girl, I stay home.
Yeah,
Girl,
I'm tired.
Girl,
I
I
can't do
sleep
that.
in. And I'd be like, dude. And then it was so much that when this man went to like the park, he didn't know how to behave. But I mean, it was, you know, like we evolved because I was a young mom. I felt I was a mature mom, but my mother to me was like her parenting styles definitely do. I mean, I probably took like 40% of it, but I think that I mean as we evolve, you know, and plus like I said, environment, circumstances, people you're around, it influences your parenting and your parenting skills and your parenting ways, you know. But I don't think it have anything to do with age because remember when you think about like if you're going back to like your great grandparents or before and then your grandparents, women a lot of women were stay-at-home wives. That's all they had to do was care for the kid, you know, and fathers were not as involved in their children's lives because that was a mother role, you know. Now the times have changed. Now more fathers are involved in their kids' life. Back then, when you talk to people, and like I said, we talk more Caribbean because that's we were raised here. But you see them and they go out, they win the bread and butter, they come home and their wives care for them, their children care for them, not that they care for their kids. You know, like the children bringing them the food while they're sitting on the table. They, you know, very rare they used to go out and do anything with the kids because they were the money maker. So they were the ones that got to sleep in and do all that stuff while the children did the hard work, like during the weekend and the house chores and stuff. But again, I mean, as we evolve and times change and stuff, so does parenting. That's how this new like stop parenting era came in and stuff. Because I mean, evolving as parents and understanding where you went wrong or what you could have done better or skills and styles and stuff like that. But they did what they knew, and like us, like, you know what I mean, where we may pick up a portion of how our parents raised us, we're not going with 100% because chances are, I mean, we didn't agree with everything. But I strongly believe that your environment influences your parenting, like two parent households.
Yeah.
That makes a difference. Even though people are say like, oh, you know, a mother can raise a child. I'm not saying that a mother can't raise a child well alone. But you know, when there's more love in a home, when there's more support in a home, you know, children are raised, and I don't like to use the word better, but more structured. You know, because I mean, I would say there is more structure. When there's more structure, then there's more structure for the child. And then this whole thing with the village, you know, times have changed with parenting then. At the end of the day, back then, anybody could have pulled your child up for doing something that they shouldn't do. Not saying like, oh, anybody could have beat your child. You know, it's not just about giving licks or sharing licks. It's about correcting them. Like, hey, Bobby, you know you don't belong here. You know, let me go tell your mother what you're doing. Da, da, da. Nowadays, if you tell somebody that their child was somebody, mind your business. Why you're in my child business? You know what you got home. You need to mind your own child. You know what your child, and it's like, now you see a child doing something, it's like you don't even want to say anything because it's like you're skeptical or concerned about what the parent gonna tell you. I don't got to tell my grandmother all the time. Listen, my grandmother, her mouth has no Sunday. And we would be in a store and she don't want to tell people how to deal with the children. And I don't try to tell her, like, nowadays you can't do that because my grandmother is in her 80s and they will look to fight you. Like, you can't tell her, like, you're in a store and a child maybe yelling at the parents or whatever. My grandma be like, hey, what wrong with you? Like, the parents now will double back.
She said that shit real low. Look at that little boy.
Let me tell you, it's so bad
she is funny.
That I had, like, Yamalis was by the house and Kaden was jumping off my ledge and she turned to Yamalis be like, you ain't watching your child?
I was like, I'm sure I'm not.
Like, that is my grandmother. So nowadays it's like you would see a child doing something that could harm them, but you're afraid to say something to that child because of how parents are going to respond.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what is your take on that? Like, do you feel that the village should come back and, like it's a village, the village should raise the kids, or do you feel that the village just needs to stay out and let that parent raise the kid? Because I think that's something huge, and I'm seeing now as more children turn to things that they're not supposed to be doing or getting injured or this whole bad behavior. Now people saying we need our village, but do we really think that we can accept that? Like somebody telling our kids what to do or how to do it in terms of, I mean, they're looking out for the child, and I'm going to take say my point and then I pass it to Yama. But I am 100% okay with people pulling up my child in school, on the streets. Like, if you see my children doing something they're not supposed to be doing, you pull it backside outside, you make sure that they're safe, and you let me know. You understand? Because I would do that. Like, I feel like I would be able to do the same. What is your take on that?
Yeah. Well, we know, because even in school, like, you have like the teachers and stuff that pull up Kaden, like, whenever he does something and are like, better, like, how your mother is, da da da. And it's not the how your mother is just means like, I don't tolerate the bullshit. And my son knows that, what I'm saying? And he understands. And I definitely feel like the village makes a difference, and understanding that everybody has their way of parenting. It might not be the way, but it's a way. You know what I'm saying? So people are constantly like judging one another's parenting techniques. And I just feel like parent the way that you see fit. If you want to parent your child X, Y, and Z, and you want to do the self-parenting, or that works for you or whatever, I think that a lot of the times the decisions that we make are because of our past or because of our childhood. Like, oh, I don't want to beat my child because when I was growing up, I used to get beat all the time, and I don't want to do that to my child, Or I ain't raising my voice because my mother used to always yell at me, and I don't want to raise my child like that. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like the village is not villaging like it used to before, and a lot of people don't want to take parenting advice, unsolicited advice. Let's just call it that. Like you were saying, like, everybody has an issue with pulling up. Not everybody, most people have an issue with like other adults pulling up their kids if they're doing something that they're not supposed to be doing, whatever the case may be. Not me. Pull my child up. I agree with you 100%. Pull my child up. Let him know that, hey, what you're doing, better. Like, that if your mother were here, you wouldn't have been doing that. So why are you doing that now? A lot of the times, all it takes is for a kid to see that people are watching and that people care for them to do the right thing.
And it goes to like school, like you said, like, when talk about school, then, and this is not, I guess you could say this is parenting, because teachers are your kids' parents Actually, for more
Somebody said
time
that.
than you are.
I don't know if you saw that.
Oh no, I didn't.
She said teachers need to be allowed to also parent children as well
Oh,
because they're with them majority of the day.
Whew.
Let them correct
I
them
was just
without
about
the
to say
fear
that.
of us parents coming back and yelling because your child don't agree. I agree 100%.
Yeah, you see, this is why a lot of the teachers now are tired of teaching. And that's, I'm sorry, let me take that back. They're not tired of teaching. They're tired of dealing with the kids today because they have this sense of entitlement,
Mhm.
you know, and we as parents give them that by being like, don't let me, your teacher can't tell you nothing, and da 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 da. So when they go to school, with the mindset that my teacher can't tell me nothing, and I don't go home and tell my, absolutely not. And I don't tell my kids all the time, teachers are humans and they make mistakes, but don't you ever get disrespectful. I don't care if you felt that the teacher disrespected you, it does not give you the right to disrespect an adult.
Facts.
You come home and you tell me what happened, and then I will go to school and I will deal with the adult because I am the adult. And if I deal with adult, I'm not dealing with the adult around the child. And even after I dealt with the adult, that child still has to respect that adult.
Mhm.
You understand? Because that is a child. And I gonna hear the full side, I gonna hear both sides of whatever happened. And I'm not the parent that be like, my child is right. My head ain't gonna get chopped off for my children. My children are children, and I'm going to school or wherever, and I'm going to find out what happened. And we know our kids, and it like, I don't hear parents saying like, my child would never, and that can't be my child. I'd be like, we watching the same kid, like. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to strangle your kid 99% of the time, so definitely can't be the same kid. But I mean, we know our kids, so we know, like, when they come and tell us like James or Susie was doing whatever, like, you know that your child could be doing whatever. So don't go into school being like, not my kid, not my child, because then the children go to school with that mindset like, my mother gonna always defend me. Like, I don't tell my kids, I'm gonna stand 10 toes down for you, but when you're in the right.
Facts.
When you're in the wrong, we got problem.
Facts.
I'm not saying that I'm not gonna be there. I will be there to fuck you up. You understand? I'm gonna be there to make sure you understand where you went wrong. But at the end of the day, I think that we took away the respect that kids have for teachers by allowing them to feel that the teachers can't tell them nothing. Now, children deserve respect. I get that. The manner in which you talk to them. I've heard teachers like talk to kids like the dogs on the street. But I would say 8 out of 10 times is because that child has disrespected that teacher so many times that they just tired of the child. You understand? And they may have had conferences and the parents come in with that same mindset, like, oh, don't talk to my child like that, or your teacher can't tell you nothing. I mean,
no,
that don't fly with me.
That's crazy.
That don't fly with me. And I wish teachers had more what you might call it. You're not paying attention to me?
Opportunity, a chance.
No, like, teachers had more
leeway.
Yes, in things that they could do, discipline wise, like stand up with books. I remember back in the day when you messing up in school,
Facts,
you have to stand up with books in your hand.
Carla
I heard that that's not allowed anymore. I mean, the beating part, like,
Carla said it depends on the manner in which they pull them up.
Oh.
Yeah. So she's with what Latifa said, which was what you're talking about right now.
Okay.
And then, but her response to that was, it also depends on the manner in which the teachers address the students when they're doing something that they're not supposed to be doing.
So so okay. That's why I definitely agree with that. It's in a manner, but a lot of the times teachers react in a stressful manner when they're stressed out by the same kids, because the same parents give the kids the right to disrespect the teacher. And that's when we talk about parenting then versus now. Because parenting then, you could have never. If you again beat or disciplined in the classroom, and like I said, ain't just beating, you either have to hold up the books, or you get no snack time, or you have to stay in for recess back then, and then when that teacher call your mother and say, hey, your child couldn't go to recess, or hey, your child had time out, you again beat at home. You understand? Or discipline, however your household did it. Discipline in whatever manner your household did it at home. Because at the end of the day, you were raised to respect adults. You understand? And where the fuck was I on this?
I feel like it's really crazy that a lot of kids now like don't have the manners that we have like now. Like I remember, I'm gonna say this, but I remember like a while back. This was like when the kids were like younger, and Bella called me. She didn't know what to call me, and she tried to call me by like my last name, like Miss, my last name. And I was like, don't do that. Just call me Yama. But understanding that this was the way that we grew up. Like the way I speak to people is yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, right? And this is not because I'm in the military. This is just how I grew up. How my mom raised me. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night. Like the basics, the basics, the basics. A lot of those kids don't know that.
No, there's
And
no
I'm not
manners.
gonna lie to you, like, I'm trying to teach my daughter that now. She don't do what she want, but I really trying to teach her that because that's important. Manners are super important to me. Like, it's just about respect. You know what I'm saying? And um, like I said, a lot of kids now don't have
No.
no respect. Like I remember my son used to be like that too. Not that he didn't have respect, but that he um he didn't know his manners were like,
Non-existent.
yeah, they were non-existent. Like we walk into a place and I used to be like, excuse me, like you heard me say good afternoon, right? You should have said it. I didn't say it for the both of us. I said it for me. No, you still have to say it. So it took me some time to teach him that. But helping him understand why he's doing what he's doing was a big part of it too. But I mean, that's like all across the board. So if you're doing it with me, you need to be doing it with your grandmother, you need to be doing it with your uncle, you need to be doing it with any adult that you're around.
But it's rare now for parents our age and younger. I would say like it's stuck with like us, really. Because younger, they're not raising their kids with manners.
Yeah.
They're not raising their kids to walk in a room. Their mindset is, well, nobody ain't tell them good morning. If you walk into a room and adults are there, like if they don't say good morning, you don't have to say good morning. Like, what? And it's crazy because you see the difference in kids. And even though and that's gonna be another topic, this is a side topic, is raising kids in the same household and having two completely different kids.
Yep.
But
I'm sorry, guys.
I see that with my kids. Like my daughter would say good morning, good afternoon, good whatever, and my son would say it under his breath or not at all. And I'll walk and be like, hello, and he'd be like, good morning or good afternoon. But my daughter is a complete opposite. Like she would walk in anywhere and it's good morning, good afternoon, have a great day, God bless you guys. And I'm like, yeah, I definitely didn't teach her that.
She's extra.
Have a wonderful day. But yeah, I think that it's super important that we take the then parenting and we bring some of that into the now, like the manners, the respect. Those are things that parenting now are lacking. And how we see, like when I say like how the world coming and how the kids are the kids in the world today, it's because of us as parents, and we have to be accountable for that. And when I say like us, because I too falter in certain things, but the now generation is like, for them it's all about me. They're so self-centered and self-centered in themselves. They're so self-centered. So for them, it's like they're not seeing in the long run, like when my kids grow up, like the kind of person they're gonna be if they don't have respect, they don't have manners, they don't, it's like they just ain't shit children, really.
Yeah. Wilbur said, your daughter got a lot of her great attributes from her father.
Can you come for me? This is about to Thanks. But yeah, so as we wrap it up, this was great. We definitely had a lot of great comments, engagement. Mom, I stay active. Mom, I stay active. Oh, okay. I'm trying to read comments too. But no, our I see a mother there. But yeah, this was great engagement. Parenting then and now. So most of us agree, and Yama and I both agree that while parenting then could have used some tweaking, we could use some more of the then parenting in the now in terms of the foundation, because kids today are lacking what made them good men and women.
Sorry, I read in the comments. I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry.
We gotta figure out how when we post this, we could post this with the comments, because I'm here thinking that if we post this without the comments, we're gonna go crazy.
No,
yeah, most of us are being it, yeah.
No, but I'm when I'm laughing or when I'm saying something, I'm telling you that I'm reading the comments, so you should know. No, but guys, feel free to engage in this topic, conversation. Even after we cut the live off, you're always welcome to come back and revisit and expand more on what you wanted to say or whatever the case may be. So it's not just limited to us just being on the live and you just talking to us when we're on the live. We can also have these conversations off of the live in the comments as well. Yeah, this was a really good topic. I'm not gonna lie to you, and I think that there are so many subtopics that can fall under just that one, because parenting now and then it's broad. There's a lot that we could discuss underneath there, and I think that we should do a part 2 to it.
Yeah, because I want to talk about parenting in terms of religion, because we had discussed that.
Yeah, we did.
When back then, church was like a wholesome part of people's lives, and as kids, you were forced to go to church, go to Sunday school, and you grew up and you were like, I will never force my child, and I would never make my child go to church if they don't want to. But then we could talk about the fundamentals of we could talk about the fundamentals of instilling religion in your kid, or whoever beliefs, because I know religion is a hot topic, but whatever your beliefs and stuff is, do you feel that that's something that should be a part of your child? But that's gonna be a subtopic, because that's gonna be deep. That's gonna definitely go in deep, and we're gonna get some guest speakers on for that one, because we have some people that reached out that want to talk about that and talk about how religion influenced their childhood in negative and positive.
Yeah.
But yeah, so definitely thank you guys for tuning in. We had a great turnout this evening on a Tuesday. Unfortunately,
yeah, and she probably is not on here, but Kaya was out here calling me a liar, and I definitely told her that we were doing it on Tuesday, but it's because we weren't able to do it last week, Friday, because we had some scheduling issues, and we honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you, we were thinking about pushing it back today, and we just didn't want to do that to you guys, because it would have turned into our pushing it back, and we're trying to be consistent here. So
and we're so consistent that we're not gonna be on this Friday.
No facts. Yeah. So see you next Tuesday.
No, we could probably do it over the weekend, because Friday, or maybe we could do it Friday early. We'll see. Friday's a holiday here in the Virgin Islands.
Yeah, not for me. I'm still working.
Well, I can be working too.
Exactly. So,
but okay,
we definitely can't do it.
So we're not gonna do it Friday.
Selling you dreams.
So maybe over the weekend. Well,
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
We'll work definitely. On it, guys. But it's gonna be a pop up just like this. Yeah. We'll try to advertise it in advance, but it's definitely probably gonna be a pop up just like this one.
But thank you guys for tuning in.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure having you. We definitely enjoyed the engagement. And we're going to post this live so that you can revisit it, rewatch it, share it, and all that great stuff. And don't mind like it looked like a little bootleg here, you know. We're gonna actually do recorded ones too and make it fancy, you know, as we get into the thing.
But tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend.
Share, comment.
Yeah, like that's the only way that we're gonna be great, and we can't wait to bring more topics to you guys. Interesting ones at that, and we appreciate everybody for participating and coming on here and sharing your thoughts and stuff like that. We're a no judge free zone. We like to keep it like that. So don't come on here being all judgy and shit. Do that somewhere else. Not here. Okay? But thanks guys for tuning in on this lovely Tuesday and late Tuesday.
Before we wrap up, I go extra hard on my challenge. So if you see me looking a little skinnier every Friday, just feel free to let me know, you know, boost my ego a little bit. No, you go ahead and turn it off so they don't see my double chin.
This girl's so stupid. Bye, guys. See you next time. Look at my 5 head.
Hurry up. I can't suck it in anymore.
Oh, sorry. Why I have to press it twice?